morning. It's a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. The date is July 7th. Time is about 9:07 in the morning. Roll call.
Let the record reflect Commissioners Ibarra, Glazier, Fazio, and Hara are present, and we have a quorum. Madam President?
Okay.
I was getting all ready to say here.
Yeah. We don't do here anymore?
Took the wind out of my sails.
That's it? Good. All right, so flag salute, Mom, with that.
Yeah, easy peasy. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Yeah. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing and join us in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
So we start with Commissioner comments.
I guess I can go then. So I had the pleasure of attending the swearing-in ceremony for David Rue, who is replacing Tom Lavange, and Commissioner Woods Gray also was in attendance at that swearing-in ceremony. Parenthetically, David and I go back a long ways. When he used to be the staff person for Yvonne Brathwaite Burke when she was county supervisor, and I had a lot of dealings with him when I was with the Venice Family Clinic, because we actually named one of the satellites of the Venice Family Clinic Burke Center at one time, and he was involved in that. And then I had the pleasure of serving with him actually the last 5 or 6 years in Sacramento with the Health Profession Education Foundation Board of Trustees, and so I think he's going to be a good replacement for Tom, although no one can be like Tom Lavange. And the other thing I got to do the last few weeks, on June the 24th, and then yesterday, I got to attend the fire car training at Kaiser Hospital, where we trained the new interns and residents and the new fellows and faculty so that they can get their fire card. And so Everett Glass was the trainer, and I found it very informative. I paid more attention to his presentation than I had, because I've attended these meetings for literally decades, and really, I think the information that he transmits to hospital workers, I think, is really very important in terms of, learning to close doors and all of the different firewalls that are in place. And the thing that I learned actually is that every elevator at Kaiser Los Angeles Medical Center has a statement saying, in the event of a fire, please use the stairs and do not use the elevators. And for the past year or so, I've been looking for the stairwells. And honestly, there aren't very many stairwells at that hospital. And I came to learn that actually, because the way the hospital's set up, that you can use any of the other elevators, and they would direct you to the elevators you can use, and you don't have to use the stairwells. So I learned something new in that process.
I attended the family orientation for our new class. It was great to see all of our future firefighters, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to go. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do at our drill tower. I also had the pleasure of riding out with Battalion 11 for a day a couple weeks back. It was great to get out and see all the firehouses out there, and enjoyed some hospitality from all of them. So appreciation for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to report of the fire chief, announcements, meetings, events.
Thank you, Madam President. On June 17th, we had my second all-chiefs meeting at Hodgkins. It's and our third one will probably be October, November. It's something we used to do on a regular basis many years ago. I think electronic email is great, but I think nothing replaces interaction, human interaction. So we have about 100 chiefs, so it's nice to get everybody in the room. We went through a bunch of presentations, and I focused my presentation on our strategic plan. The next day, June 18th, I attended the 2015 Grateful Hearts event at the Warner Center Park in Topanga Canyon, very well attended. On June 19th, I had the pleasure of Commissioner Barr's company. We went to that fire in Toluca Lake, that apartment building fire. After that, we went to the Hodgkins Training Center to give closing remarks at the community risk reduction training. And that's something that I think we've identified as a new tool for us to measure community risk, to identify problems, and to try to develop solutions. You'll be hearing more about that as we further develop that. We actually do have a community risk unit now being developed in the Fire Prevention Bureau. June 23rd, I attended the celebration for Councilmember LaBonge at Council Chambers. Once again, offered him employment as he retired. He told me he'd get back to me, but he was a great supporter of the Los Angeles Fire Department, and we look forward to further contacts with him. I don't think he's going to go away. He's going to continue to be a great supporter of us. June 24th, I attended the My Safe LA award ceremony in Beverly Hills, where I got to see former Fire Chief Amatri. June 25th, attended a reception for Mr. Rick Cole, who's leaving the mayor's staff to become the city manager of the city of Santa Monica. Mr. Cole was a great supporter of the fire department, particularly in our budget requests. Later that day, I attended the swearing-in ceremony for Councilmember Huizar. June 28th, attended the Boss Naftali 23rd annual breakfast at the congregation on La Brea. Immediately after that, we went to a major emergency structure fire in El Sereno Valley IC, and we'll hear more about that later. Later that same day, we attended the swearing-in ceremony for new council member David Rue. And then the next day, we had the family orientation presentation at Hodgkins, where we had 63 new firefighter candidates and their families. On June 30th, I shot a public service announcement with President Lima, and the focus was educating our members on the importance of wellness, and we were introducing the recent agreement to have an annual physical that would be included at the city's cost. So that's an effort. We'll hear more about workers' comp reduction later, but it ties into that effort. Later that day, there was a reception for Ms. Decker. She has moved on to her new position. We've got a new deputy mayor, Jeff Gorell. I met him a couple weeks ago. I'm excited about that future partnership. July 1st, we attended the swearing-in ceremony of Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson. Later that day, I had a press conference with Councilmember Bonin immediately before 4th of July at Fire Station 109 to stress the importance of not playing with fireworks in the city, especially that we're in the 4th year of a drought. July 2nd, we had our annual press conference with LA County Fire Department Chief Osby and LAPD and the Sheriff's Department, where we said the same thing. Please do not use fireworks in the city of LA. Please attend a professional fireworks show. And then lastly, on July 4th, I was riding out at Fire Station 13. Wanted to see firsthand how busy we were going to be on the 4th of July. We were busy. No major incidents. We had a lot of activity. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So moving on to B, which is verbal report by the department on significant incidents and activities from June 17th to July 7th.
Good morning, Madam
Morning.
Commissioner, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, Madam City Attorney, Madam Assistant. My name is Phil Flegel. I'm the Deputy Chief in charge of Operations Central Bureau. And we have 3 incidents I'd like to cover with you today. The first one was on June 19th, approximately 2:18 hours in the afternoon. 2:18 hours in the afternoon. The location of the fire was at 4600 North Rivington Avenue in Toluca Lake. Firefighters arrived to a 2-story apartment building that was initially believed to be under construction but was fully involved in fire. The fire had already spread into some units in a 3-story adjacent apartment building and on the west side of that structure. The incident was quickly upgraded to a major emergency, and defensive operations went into effect for the initial structure that was on fire, and then simultaneously went to offensive attack on the adjoining exposure structure. Despite the fire extending into the common attic of the adjacent structure, the firefighters were able to get a good handle on it and save the structure that was next to it. The area of origin for the initial structure fire that started was some construction workers doing some work trying to tear down that wood frame structure, and they sparked some debris and it started the fire and had that began. One note of topic for this specific fire was the fire was so intense from that fire is that the adjacent other buildings across the street actually started to melt some mailboxes and some other issues over there, but we were able to make sure nothing spread to any other structures. And again, Chief Terrazas and Madam President, you were there to see what was going on there. The next fire I'm going to talk about, actually want to go ahead and show the video to that real quick.
This is a reported structure fire for Engine 86, Rescue 86, Task Force 60, Rescue 860, Light Force 78, EMS 12, Engine 76, Battalion 14, Engine 76 is the command company. 4600 Riverton Avenue, across of Sarah. Channel 9 response, TAC Channel 17, TAC 17, Incident 663.
Metro Rescue 60 on scene at 4600 Riverton. We have a large 2-story apartment under construction, heavy fire. Go ahead and add 2 task forces to this. We got at least 1 unit on the first floor, 1 unit on the second floor. We're trying to gain access. That's the exposure to the west. We're trying to get lines in place now. 78, I see you behind me. Come on up. Behind truck 60. I need you to take the west exposure. We can take the whole thing. I see from roof, truck 60. We got several holes open up with fire showing up. All the holes on the west side exposure. We need one more company to back up. Engine 86, Engine 97. The fire's extended all the way around.
As you can see, the adjacent structure there had significant damage to it, but they were able to save a majority of the contents and the other adjacent apartments inside of that unit. Okay, for the next fire we had was Chief Terrazas touched on that. The Worth Street incident was actually Valley IC, and that fire occurred on June 28th at approximately 12:28 in the morning. Units got on scene and found a 1-story commercial building with heavy fire and smoke showing. A simultaneous aggressive interior fire attack and roof ventilation operations began. The fire building was heavily secured and boarded up with plywood, which created a really problem with getting forcible entry and getting inside of the structure itself. There were some signs of some partial roof collapse relatively soon, so we began a defensive attack and pulled everybody out into heavy streams. Approximately an hour and a half into the operation, the exterior walls of the structure started to show some instability and was deemed unsafe, so we pulled back even a little bit further until we can get a better handle on it. One thing to note of this fire, that day was about 93 degrees with 46% relative humidity going on, so our firefighters were really taxed with being a lot of work going on. And unfortunately, it took a while to get a handle on this fire, and it took about 2.5 hours, and really taxed our firefighters. And despite those conditions, we had a total of 6 firefighters who reported injuries, but they were subsequently released on scene and had no problems. We had 2 actually transported to the hospital to get further evaluated. And the cause for that fire is pending right now and being investigated. But it's truly a hard fight for such a type of weather and the incident that it was. So got the video on that as well.
Engine 16, Task Force 2, Rescue 47, Rescue 25, Light Force 12, EMS 13, Battalion 2, structure fire, intersection call at Valley and Vineburn, incident 569 at 11:28. Metro from Engine 2 on scene, 4390 East Valley. We have a single-story commercial with heavy smoke and fire showing. Give me 2 more task forces.
Operations from Division Bravo. Could I have one additional engine company assigned to Bravo?
Chief, if I get another company up here on the exposure on the Bravo side roof.
Charlie Delta Corner, 21s, 11s. I want you off the shed roof. We're discontinuing this operation back here. Everybody down.
Okay, in our last incident that we had that occurred on July 4th, actually at 8:20 in the morning, LAFD Resources responded to a structure fire at 804 North Alvarado Street in Echo Park. And firefighters first arrived on scene. They saw a one-story home with a converted attic into a living space fully involved with flames exposed in nearby structures. Firefighters made an intense and aggressive interior attack due to reports of possible people trapped. 5 out of the 6 home's residents, 2 of whom were related, were in the home and inside at the time and were successfully extricated from the residence. Over 50 firefighters extinguished the flames in under 36 minutes. There were a total of 6 patients. 1 adult male, unfortunately, was found inside of a closet on the 2nd floor beyond medical care and was determined dead at the scene. Should be noted, this is the 7th fatality that we've had in the city this year. I think last year at this time we had up to 16 at this point, so doing relatively better, but just note it was 7th of this year. 2 adult males transported in critical condition to local area hospitals, and 1 firefighter was also transported to the hospital to get evaluated as well. There was no security bars and no access issues to prevent people from escaping, but the one thing of note, there were no working smoke detectors in the room at that time. And because of that and the quick actions of the people from MySafe LA, they showed up relatively fast to the incident and also began their canvassing process that they do with going around the neighborhood and talking to people about smoke detectors and installations. And they provided us with some information and some feedback to the incident commander and also to ourselves. And they canvassed 28 homes within the area. They visited another 5 after they left the area the next day, and also installed 13 smoke detectors in other homes around that area that day. So a good effort by the MySafe LA people. And we also had the Mayor's Crisis Response Team respond for the DB for the family and to assist with that, and Red Cross also showed up to the incident. One last thing of issue too, the 4th of July, is we also augmented some resources for the 4th of July holiday. We had bike medics and some extra resources at some of the events that we had around the city, such as in Grand Park. We had bike medics there for the event that happened there, or the family events that happened there. Also in the Venice area boardwalk, we had bike medics around as well in the LAX area for the influx of travelers to help support any issues or any happenings that would happen around there. Are there any questions at all for any of these things? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So moving on to a report by the medical director for the same time period.
Good morning. I'm Captain Doug Zabilski from the EMS Division Office, filling in for Dr. Exneen this morning. Just a couple incidents to mention. On July 4th, unfortunately, an LAPD cadet officer didn't heed Chief Terrazas' warning. He was handling a device that exploded, causing serious injuries to his face and chest. He lost 2 fingers on one hand and a partial thumb amputation on the other hand. The following day, July 5th, a 30-year-old woman walking with her boyfriend on Sunset in Hollywood. When unknown reasons, someone just came up from behind and shot her point blank in the head. She was pronounced deceased on scene. On another note, also this period, MLK Hospital is reopening its emergency department today with 21 ER beds. At this point, it's just open to walk-in traffic. The plan is it will start receiving 911 patients in about 3 weeks.
Great. Thank you. So now, item 3, presentations.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable members of the Commission, Madam President, Chief Terrazas, good morning, and the management and staff of the Los Angeles Fire Department. My name is Armando Hogan. I'm currently assigned to Battalion 4 on the B Platoon, servicing the communities that begin in Westchester and end near the Santa Monica border. Also, that includes the Los Angeles World Airport. I'm here today to recognize an outstanding individual who not only has put forth his own effort, but most importantly, an effort that has benefited all of us. So, begging your indulgence, if I could read just a little bit for this young man. His name, Kelly L. Kilmartin. His rank is engineer. He has been a member of the Los Angeles Fire Department for over 37 plus years. He has held the rank of engineer since 1986 and has been assigned to Fire Station 51 as an engineer since 1999. Way back in 2007, Kelly was approached by then Battalion Chief Milledge Peaks and asked to create a pre-fire response plan involving all of the Los Angeles World Airport, known as LAWA, terminals for the Battalion 4 office. What started out as a small project turned into a huge labor of love and tremendous benefit for everyone assigned to Battalion 4. Engineer Kilmartin expanded that request by creating the LAX Airport and ARF, which stands for Airport Rescue and Firefighting, Information Manual, which you see I'm holding up here. And this manual includes airport terminology, airport quick response reference guide with radio channels and appropriate phone numbers, ARF standard operating guidelines for all responding resources, terminal standard operating guidelines, security posts and staging gates, the locations and the directions, fuel tank farm information chart, airport building inventory, and sheet maps, as well as for the airport terminals. Engineer Kilmartin worked tirelessly on his days off to get this completed and received minimum compensation for this committed effort. This project is a dynamic process because of the current multi-billion-dollar modernization taking place at LAX. And I purposely left a post-it on there because he just updated it very recently. This manual has provided a true benefit to everyone in and around the LAX footprint as an aid in providing exemplary service to all who travel to the Los Angeles airport. LAX is sometimes referred to as a city unto itself. It is the 6th busiest airport in the world, 3rd busiest in the United States, with over 3,425 acres, 8 terminals, 9 if you include Tibbet, and countless miles of fence line. Through Engineer Kilmartin's considerable efforts, he has minimized this challenge by providing clear direction and particular detail by patiently spelling out every aspect of what LAX has to offer. It is with great pride and appreciation that I present to you a member of the LAFD who truly demonstrates serving with courage, integrity, and pride. He does this on a daily basis and enables our members to provide amazing customer service that is thoughtful and genuine. On behalf of the many members of the 4th Battalion, past and current, it is with great honor that we recognize Engineer Kilmartin for his willingness to set the example while making the LAFD more efficient and effective. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in applause for Engineer Extraordinaire Kelly L. Kilmartin. And if I may, I'd like to bring to the podium the Bureau Commander for Operations West Bureau, Joe Castro. Can I go first? And in this case, the Fire Chief is going to go first because he can.
Good decision, Chief. I got to say a few words about this. Here's another example of excellence in the Los Angeles Fire Department. I have my copy, Kelly. I gave it to the Commissioner as he's reviewing it right now. I actually keep that in my rig. When I was South Division Commander, I had multiple incidents at LAX. And the first thing I would pull out of the back would be your book. There's not a lot of time when we're responding to incidents. So previously we would have books that looked like an old telephone book. Because of Engineer Kilmartin's efforts, now we had a quick reference guide that covered many areas. And many of the things that are in that book I used in our shipboard firefighting operations down in the harbor. So it not only has had an impact in LAX, but throughout the department as well. It's a tremendous resource. I can't thank you enough. You deserve this recognition. And on behalf of the men and women of this department, I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to echo a few of the things that Chief Hogan elaborated on, and Chief Terrazas, in terms of an employee that steps so far outside any accepted normal satisfactory performance and produces a document that will certainly outlive his career. The complexities of public safety at LAX are at times mind-boggling, and the normal resources that reside proximate to the airport are well versed. However, if one thing is clear, is that a large-scale incident is going to require far more resources than Battalion 4. And this document provides a quick reference guide and specific information for outside resources, both within the LAFD and outside the LAFD, to function in a consistent manner that will ensure public safety, especially in that initial action phase of an incident where it's still evolving, situational awareness is still evolving. And really and I have my copy also that I use just like Chief Terrazas does, in terms of it's so complex, there's no way we could expect outside entities or people outside of Battalion 4 to remain fluent. But this document it replaced a document that was essentially unreadable to a tangible method for us to quickly gain a foothold on an emergency within the airport. And I've had the pleasure of working with Kelly. My first assignment as a captain, he was an engineer there down in South Los Angeles, and I worked together with him and another legendary engineer, Harry Carell, and it's with great honor that we present the Certificate of Appreciation on behalf of the Fire Commission to an employee that truly stepped outside the bounds of excellent performance to an outstanding level. And with that, I would like to present this to Engineer.
Congratulations.
Members, if it's okay, I'd like to introduce the members from Fire Station 51 and Rescue 51, if I could just have them come forward as they can support Kelly. He wasn't real comfortable with this portion of the presentation. So, and just so you know, I've committed that book to memory, so I don't need to carry it with me. Thank you very much.
Glad to know that.
First thing I want to say is there are more updates. I haven't sent them out yet, but there will be some more. First, I want to thank Mayor Garcetti and the Board of Fire Commissioners for this honor. I want to thank Fire Chief Terrazas, Chief Rueda, retired Chiefs Peaks and Austin, Chief Castro, Chief Ulrich, Chief Greenup, Chief Bowman, and Chief Hogan. Also, Captain Scott, manuals and orders, maps and drafting units, LAX airport personnel, all the members of Battalion 4, and the members of Fire Station 5, and my wife Debbie, for all their continued support and input on this ongoing project. It's been an honor to have been given the opportunity to develop the LAX airport manual to assist LAFD members when responding in and around LAX. LAX continues to grow, improve, and evolve, and I hope to be able to continue the project after my retirement next year. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move the podium, and also I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize his beautiful wife, Debbie. Go ahead and smile and wave. They needed two of these, and if I could have the commissioners.
Be able to find it here okay?
sir. I had to use my navigation.
Can't see Kevin Kemp.
Okay, guys, stay there. Debbie, if you would jump in, please. Wanted to make that picture a little better looking. Okay, can I have the commissioners in also, please? Perfect. Commissioner Fazio, let's put you right in the middle right there. You got it, please. Thank you, sir. I do, sir.
Switching the guns.
Platforms, right? Now they got to put it on digital platforms.
I got to add a comment to Kevin Kemp. You know, he was hiding in this picture, but he's in the selfie with the women's soccer team that's gone viral.
That's right.
So way to promote the LAFD and go women's soccer.
So moving on to the consent agenda items, we have three consent agenda items. Somebody want to move them?
Sure. Moving consent items 4A, B, and C. Move the recommendations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So regular agenda items, 5A is a report by the department on the status and disposition of LAFD matters referred to other committees, departments, etc.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Julie, and Sandy. Chief Everett, Chief of Staff, to report back on City Council Committee's activity report from June 8th to June 26th. Most of the material is in your packet, has already gone through committee and for Council. Council is on recess right now until the 28th, but we did have a couple of items come through prior to the recess. In Council on June 30th, that's not in your packet, the Council adopted implementation steps for the rapid response vehicle. So as that was moving its way through public safety and through the different committees, Council has adopted that now, so we're able to continue to move forward on that pilot. In addition to that, our iPad donation was accepted by Council as well on the 30th, which will be a big boost for us technology-wise. And I can answer any other questions you might have.
Could we just get a briefing on the rapid response vehicle and how that's going to work, and maybe for the future meeting? Maybe
Sure.
I missed it. Did you do it already here? Did I miss it? I might have missed the meeting.
I'll look back, but
Okay.
we can provide that for you, no problem.
Okay, great, thanks.
I had a question about the prevention program. We had a briefing on that, and then it went to Council on the staffing augmentation.
On the backlog?
If no expense.
Yeah. So when it went to the Council committee, like there was extra staffing added. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Are you speaking to the
Public safety. Yeah.
Public Safety
Yeah,
Committee?
yeah,
We did have a
that's right.
report. We did have a report given by Chief Vidovich of Public Safety about the backlog. and part of that was a staffing model.
And then it was referred to budget.
Well, he's got to report back, yeah, but then it was referred to budget and finance, and he has to report back a quarterly report back on that.
Oh, okay.
But it was referred to budget and finance, that item.
Okay, I'll just save it for
okay.
later. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay.
So,
Move to receive and file item 5A.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5B is report by the department on fiscal year 2015-2016 adopted budget.
Good morning.
Morning.
June Gibson, Fire Administrator. The item before you is a summary of the 15-16 adopted budget, which amounts to $646 million, which includes $20 million in MICLA. This amount is almost $62 million above the 14-15 budget, which, in my memory, is the largest increase to the department budget to my knowledge. Just as a point of contrast, for 14-15, the increase was $15 million over the previous year. 13-14, it was $37 million over the previous year, and in 12-13, it was $41 million increase over 11-12. The $41 million sounds like a very large number, but my recollection was that $30 million of that was for obligatories, primarily for constant staffing overtime. However, in comparison for the current year budget, there were a number of significant items that were included in the budget, many of which were of particular interest to the Fire Commission. Some of those items include restoration of the 66 firefighter field positions for what the City Council is now calling ambulance deployment plan, as opposed, excuse me, to the ambulance augmentation plan. 5 recruit academy classes totaling 270 recruits was also funded. That has been augmented by a motion that was introduced by Councilmember Krikorian last week, which now enables the department to have a total number of recruits up to 295. So it's an additional 5 recruits per class. In addition, this is an issue that was of particular concern to Commissioner Woods-Gray, and that is that 5 new positions to implement a comprehensive recruitment plan was also included. About $800 million in technology software upgrades was also approved, and 13 mechanics positions were restored to fleet maintenance, even though no funding was provided, but the additional 13 positions restored for staff support, I think it is particularly significant, and obviously for next fiscal year we'll request funding for those positions.
Okay. Yeah.
June, you did a great job, I think. I mean, along with the chief and the staff, I mean, this is a great move forward for the department, and I know how hard your unit works in order to help us achieve these results. So, I mean, we have a lot of people to thank for this budget. We're certainly well on our way. I just want to add my voice to the choir, even though it's maybe a late voice, to, you know, expressing our appreciation for all the hard work you guys do in order to prepare all this stuff for CAO and City Council and Mayor's Office. So thanks to the Mayor's Office, City Council, and you and whoever else put this together. So thanks. It's a big win. It's a lot of money versus what we've been able to work with in the last several years, or ever maybe, I don't know. So thank you. Thank you to Chief. Thank you to June for that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Agreed. Just one quick thing. If we could just a plug or a reminder that as our budget development starts to take place for the next cycle, that maybe we get the Commission gets a little bit of an earlier ability to have a little bit of input on the development portion.
The budget cycle typically begins in August.
Great.
So that's coming up soon.
Yes, that's
so Commissioner's input is certainly welcome, and earlier the better.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Great job on this.
I'd like to add some comments to that. Certainly we'll include you in the budget cycle, and the work of June and her staff is amazing. Tight timelines. This is my second go-around, and we did the interim budget, so it was a good practice for the real budget. But June and her institutional knowledge was very valuable to us. And not only her, but her entire staff. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move to receive and file item 5B.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5C is report by the department on the agreement between LAFD and Stephen G. Sanko, MD, Inc. for professional services.
Good morning, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen of the Board. I'm Bill Jones, Contracts and Grants Manager for the LAFD. Before you is a sole source agreement between the LAFD and Dr. Stephen Sanko. This agreement is for $75,000 and is for the term July 1, 2015 through June 30, 2016. The purpose of this contract is for the oversight and the development of the nurse practitioners response unit for the LAFD, which was approved as part of the 2015-16 budget. Do you have any questions?
I just want to again just say I think this is really important. It seems to me as though Steve's had a great mentor in Dr. Eckstein, he's been sort of hand selected from what I can see for the position that we're currently entering into a contract for if we approve it. And the help is needed. You know, I see the dollars. It's pittance compared to the work, you know, that he's done already. I believe he did his master's maybe as well. I don't know how familiar anyone is with his resume. Maybe the chief is, you know, to kind of really help us look at what we can do to help, you know, help the community the way that he's going to be implementing this nurse practitioner program. So I'm certainly in support of this.
If I could just request that he get a jacket that has his name on the back, because apparently folks in the field have been confusing the two of us.
I'll defer to the fire chief for that one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not that it hurts me to be confused for Dr. Sanko, but for his sake, maybe get him something that says his name on the back so that they know the difference between the two of us.
So, and this was approved per the budget, because I didn't see it in the.
It was actually part of the innovation group, and Dean can speak more to the hearing on that one if you need more background.
Actually, this part of this position is going to be funded by Kaiser Funds, and part of it is going to be funded by the Innovation Fund.
Oh, great. Even better.
Yeah. It's great. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 5D is report by the department on the workers' compensation audit update.
Madam President, Honorary Board of Fire Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, Council. Good morning. I'm Robert Takashita from the Risk Management Section. I'm here to give an update on the progress made towards completing the 19 workers' compensation audit recommendations made by the City Controller's Office. A brief background: in 2014 and into early stages of 2015, a year-long review of the LAFD and LAPD workers' compensation program was conducted by the City Controller's Office. The City Controller's Office findings and recommendations were released on March 26, 2015. Prior to the audit release, the LAFD had implemented or partially implemented 5 of the 19 recommendations. Within the report, the City Controllers made recommendations of expanding data collection, identifying trends, illness and injury prevention, education, all of which are directed at claim reduction. An example was given within the report of a 2% reduction of LAFD claims of approximate savings of $483,000 to the city. On June 2, 2015, the LAFD met with City Council Audit Committee to provide an update on the audit recommendations. The Audit Committee was informed that the LAFD agrees with the audit recommendations and has implemented or partially implemented 14 of the 19 recommendations. On June 10, 2015, the Audit Committee report on the LAFD's Worker Compensation Prevention Program was noted and filed at the June City Council meeting. Within the Controller's report, the recommendations were categorized as Priority A or B. The 5 recommendations that have not been implemented are 2.1, development of a risk management plan, which was categorized as a Priority A. 2.2, a designated budget for the safety officer, which is categorized as Priority B. 2.3, assigning a safety officer and risk manager responsibilities to 2 individuals. That was also categorized as Category B. 6.2, development and delivery of training for specific members based on injury illness by age and years of service. Category B, or excuse me, Priority B. And the last one, 8.1, implementation of a safety management system throughout the LAFD, similar to the one being used by Air Operations, and that was also categorized as Priority B. One of the leading priorities of the LAFD is the safety and health of its members. In the LAFD, fireground injuries represent approximately 17%, whereas in the nation, it's an average of 45%. Members are provided with exceptional training, the best personal protective equipment, exceptional IOD health care, yet the audit has identified several areas and direction for improvement in cost savings, cultural awareness, management, and accountability. Accident prevention is the greatest method of reducing injuries for all firefighters. As we continue to implement and pursue all the recommendations, many of which are ongoing, we are met with the usual challenges of funding, technical support, and systems improvements. Thank you. I'm ready to answer some questions.
Okay. Move to adopt the recommendation for item 5D.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5E's report by the department on the CUPA program, Certified Unified Program Agency Update and Efficiency.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Terrazas, City Attorney. Good morning. My name is Kenny Miller, and I'd like to give you a brief update on the Certified Unified Program, the evaluation process, and where we stand as of today with the process itself. As you remember, CUPA was cited for 19 deficiencies back in the summer of 14. We had the opportunity to enter into a program improvement agreement back in March of 2015, and our first progress report was due to the state April 23rd. Our goal with this update itself was to be able to provide you with a copy, at the request of Commissioner Glazier, a copy of the state's report back to us as a result of our progress report. Unfortunately, we didn't receive that report from the state until July 1st, which was after the deadline for submission. However, after reviewing the report, along with Chief Vidovich, and communicating with the state, the various agencies involved in the evaluation process, the end result was, of the 19 deficiencies, 2 of those deficiencies were removed, requiring no further action by the fire department. 17 of those deficiencies still require some effort or work on our part. 4 of those deficiencies will remain on the agreement for the term of the agreement, which is up to and including January 2016. The other 13 can actually be removed once we as a CUPA, once we as a fire department meet the benchmarks set forth by the state. One of the main areas of concern that the state had with us originally was our inability to inspect all underground storage tank facilities. We have roughly 1,327 facilities in the city. With that 1,327 facilities, we have our data is not out yet for year end, but we estimate to be at the underground storage tank inspection program to be roughly about 85% completion rate. While it's not our target of 100% yet, it is 20 percentage points higher than any year in the previous 5 years. In an effort to be completely transparent with our numbers and our data, USTs represent one of the 4 elements of the CUPA program. The other 3, the hazardous materials inspection element of the program, we're looking at 60%. The CalARP element of the program, which is our large refinery type facilities, we should hit 100%. And our APSA, which is our above ground petroleum storage inspection program, we're looking at 63%. And the other reason we haven't hit our target with that, the main reason is that we've incorporated the overdue inspections into that into the overall inspection numbers. So we anticipate starting this fiscal year that we should be able to hit 100% of each category. We're confident that CUPA is now put it in the right direction at the helm of Chief Vidovich for long-term sustainability, which is what we all want eventually. New supervision has been selected to the unit, increasing morale tenfold. One of the areas of concern, though, it's kind of an important element, is our inability to hire a permanent CUPA manager. We've had an acting manager in place now for approximately 1 year. Having a permanently assigned Coupa manager with that expertise and knowledge cannot be overstated. Having a permanently assigned Coupa manager is critical to the overall success of that of the Coupa section. So with that said, our next progress report is due July 23rd, a couple weeks from now. We'll have another one due in October, and if necessary, January 2016 will be our last. We'll continue to update Commission on a quarterly basis or anytime you feel necessary, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Chief, thanks for the report.
Yes, sir.
Give us a little bit more, if you wouldn't mind, on the Coupa manager. I mean, is that something that's in the works, or is that something we're just having a hard time finding the person, the budget for, or what's the issue there?
There's a couple of issues. I'll probably defer that to Chief Vidovich if that's okay.
Sure.
Sure.
Commissioner, that's a great question. When Chief Terrazas promoted me to Fire Marshal, I had to make a decision of where to put. We're getting a lot of complaints about development services and the lack of expertise, so I moved our Coupa manager to development services, really to stop the hemorrhaging from the development community on the numerous complaints we're receiving there in regards to plan check services and so forth. So we elevated a person into an acting capacity. We do now have in this budget a position for our current Coupa manager who's at development services to elevate into. So once we have that authority through the process, we'll be able to advertise for the Coupa manager. I've been working with Ms. Gibson on this, and really we think the earliest we'll be able to officially fill the Coupa manager is September. June, is that accurate?
No, it'll probably take the personnel department about September in order for the new position to be authorized. So after that, it's the recruitment effort, and I anticipate that'll take about a couple of months as well. So.
Is that a civilian position?
That is a civilian.
Okay.
Is there a way of putting an interim person in there that it could at least do the work, Chief, or how does that work? I don't know the bureaucracy well enough to know what the right way of looking at how we can plug that hole. I mean, is there somebody that can plug it for a while if it's something that's so critical to making sure that January state
when this first came out, Ms. Decker from the mayor's office had initially offered hiring a Coupa manager utilizing some creative options that did not occur, so we're currently still with the acting Coupa manager. And I don't know if June can elaborate on that.
Somebody's doing the job right now
in
an interim capacity.
Right, but also has another position within the Coupa.
So they're not full-time managing the process.
And that's a sworn right now?
Civilian or sworn?
Civilian or sworn? Civilian?
The civilian acting Coupa manager also handles the CalARP inspections for the entire city, the refinery, the large refinery type. So this is very critical that we get a permanently assigned Coupa manager.
Of course.
Yeah, those are two really critical things. I don't know if Ms. Gibson wanted to add a perspective there. I just always want to hear her thoughts.
Now that the the fix with respect to Hani's new position is in the budget, I think what we can do is work with the personnel department to at least begin recruitment for the replacement. And in terms of the timing, it could be simultaneous. At the very least, we would be able to authorize an emergency appointment for this position until such time as a civil service examination is given. So, I'll continue to work with the department as well as the personnel department to see whether we can expedite the process.
So is the internal bureaucracy such that even like that emergency, what did you just call it?
An emergency appointment.
Emergency appointment, does that still have us holding off until September, or is that something that could be done prior to that time frame?
Well, what I want to do is work with the personnel department with respect to establishing a recruitment plan in the interim, because we really can't fill any position unless there is an actual authority, and we won't have the authority probably until September 1st. But I think we can do the preliminary steps before the position is actually authorized.
And the entity that grants the authority is personnel?
Personnel department grants the authorities and the allocation of the position, and they're also the ones that approve the emergency appointments.
So I guess what I would be wondering is, we have apparently the next audit coming up with the state in January, if I understood Chief Miller correctly?
Audit? No, we don't.
For a report, the report from the state.
We have a report due in a couple weeks, sir.
But
it's quarterly,
and then,
right?
Correct. Quarterly thereafter. Our last one should be January 16. Our goal is to get completely compliant prior to that, though.
Cleaned up before that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And would that manager significantly help us in the process of getting cleaned up?
Huge.
Okay.
Can't be
I
overestimated.
don't know. That's why I'm asking.
No, I appreciate you asking because that's she's involved, like I said, in the CalARP inspection process, and that's a time-consuming issue as it's in itself. And having somebody there with that expertise, that knowledge, that can deal. You can put somebody like myself there to facilitate things, but having that expertise and that knowledge to deal with the state is very, very important.
Is there anything we can do to help personnel get quicker on the granting of the emergency, position?
That would be a question for either Chief Terrazas or Chief Vidovich.
Let me weigh on this. I think our best course of action is to follow Ms. Gibson's direction to expedite the process, to try to do things ahead of time. If the position's funded in September, if we do things, the recruitment ahead of time, I think that would be our best path. Any additional support, we can look at supporting it from internally.
Okay.
So we're making good progress here. And we had to wait for this new budget to get this other position. So I think we're going in the right direction.
So, and can we get a copy of the report that you received on July 1st
Absolutely.
from the state?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I was going to ask the same thing about getting the report with the feedback on it. I don't know if it's worth putting it on the agenda, even as a...
It's everything that we just talked about with regards to the 19 deficiencies, 2 of them removed. It does go into detail about what where we missed the mark,
right,
per se, on some of the big lesson learned for all of us in Coupa.
Yeah, and we're getting quarterly reports from you to the commission anyway, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So maybe you can, is it a public document already? Or So what we could do is if you could submit it and we can put it on the consent agenda so we don't discuss it because we've already discussed it here.
Absolutely.
But it's important that it be, that the public get the latest
Yes, ma'am.
update from the state to the LAFD on this.
Sure.
So we'll do that.
Okay, sounds good.
And then we can read it.
I do want to commend the whole unit for their focus on this effort because clearly it didn't just occur.
Right.
We've sort of all inherited it, and yet we're with dispatch trying to figure out how to clean our balance sheet up on this issue, and we all understand the importance of it. So, thanks for the focus on it.
Yes, sir.
I just want to second Commissioner Fazio's feeling about the appointment. Just whatever we can do to make sure that gets filled by September, so we are not waiting until waiting for a full process. So we don't, because otherwise it'll be January before we get the position filled if we just go through the regular process. So I think it's really important that we get that position filled way before then.
We really want to do that before it'd be great to have somebody in place before the October progress report. Definitely, well before the January one.
Right. And this is in the context of the other issues that we're having in the Prevention Bureau. This is a big one. So we just want to make sure that we have all the staff that we need for all the backlogs that we have. Especially if it's civilian, it should expedite the hiring a little bit over sworn officers. Okay.
One more question.
Yeah.
One more question. Do we have a good sense of how to prioritize the level of different things that we're inspecting and trying to catch up with? In other words, are they just all part of a big system of things that need to be done, or are we looking at how best to go about, let's get this for sure, let's get that,
Right.
how do you think about
Chief
that?
Vidovich can probably add a little bit more to that, but we've definitely analyzed the inspections, and we've split. What we've done to create a more efficient process was split the 2 of the elements up, the underground storage tanks, which was a high priority for the state, and the hazardous materials inspections. And what that's done is created a more efficient process. Before, we'd have one inspector do both. Very cumbersome process. Now we have one inspector do one element, one inspector do the other one. It's created a more efficient process. But Chief, did you want to add anything?
Yeah. Commissioner, just in regards to the prioritization, one of the things we did was look at, and like we spoke at last commission, anything that's past due. So the past due inspections are the priority. Historically, July 1st, the fiscal year kicked over, and we started again, and we have this backlog of inspections that were not inspected. So we've looked at our hazardous facilities, and really it's what Chief Terrazas has asked, is to a risk base. So the unfortunate part, anything underground is all in the same risk category. Anything that can contaminate the groundwater, we have to look at. But what we've done is truly look at the data in regards to ensuring that our inspectors know what is the most egregiously past due inspections, and those are our priority. So, you know, as the Chief and I discussed on numerous occasions, we talk about this 12 to 18 month catch up, not only for the Coupa inspections, but for all inspections in the city.
Yeah, I was kind of even getting a little, even more granular. So inspector, you know, whatever, name a name, you know, has X amount of inspections that they have to do, some of which are current, some of which are past due. But some of them might be schools or things that are, you know, a higher level of maybe making sure. I was just wondering if there's a process now that we've adopted that is going through and prioritizing.
So in regards to that, it's a really good question. Like Chief Miller indicated, we separated the underground tank and the hazmat apart. You need the ICC certification to do the UST inspection. So we have 9 certified inspectors now to do that work. In regards to ensuring we really have more efficiency, we've clustered our inspections now. Our inspectors are working in a more localized area. We're scheduling inspections throughout the year rather than historically a large number of our inspections, according to our data, the last 5 years were inspected during 4 months of the year. You're never going to get that 100% compliance. So we've worked proactively with the customers. We're notifying, we send them all a letter letting them know when their inspections were due. So if you received a letter that your inspection is due in the month of July, we work with the customer to schedule that. And that's the way we feel we can get the work done in a more expeditious manner.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, move to receive and file item 5E.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moving on to a report on the status of department fleets.
Madam President, Commissioners,
morning.
Chief Terrazas, City Attorney, good morning. My name is Wade White. I'm the Commander at Supply and Maintenance Division. This is newly promoted to Equipment Superintendent Mark Clark.
Welcome.
Good morning.
We're here to give you a verbal status on the fleet. To start out with, there's 3 basic areas that we cover with the fleet. We've got our auto parts, our staff who maintains a fleet, and then our fleet replacement program. We've received great support in regards to filling vacancies. Mark will give you an update on as far as the status of that.
When you say vacancies, you're talking about mechanics?
Mechanic vacancies, yes. The auto parts, which we had a review done about 2 years ago on the auto parts, we've implemented some technology in addition to control measures, and we're seeing real good results as far as, if you recall, GSD handles our auto parts, and what we've done is we've hired staff as basically a parts manager mode to keep track of all those parts that are used on apparatus. The third of which we're having our biggest issue is fleet replacement. I want to thank June and her staff for getting us what we did this year, $20 million. We need a little bit more to start catching up. I'm going to have Mark give you an update on the.
Chief, what was the request? You got $20 million. What was the request?
We requested 34.
Okay.
Yes. We've got working with Chief Terrazas. We've put together 3, 5, and 7-year plans to do some catch up, and we've been working those numbers.
Thanks.
Mark?
Certainly. Well, I'm pleased to provide an update on the status of the fleet and the status of our fleet maintenance operation. I'd like to just mention 3 points. Current fleet statistics, workload statistics, and our workforce statistics. You know that on average, The age of our fire engines are 11.6 years, and our ladder trucks, 13.7 years. We're doing better with our ambulance fleet. Our average age is 5.3 years. We have, excuse me, 1,240 vehicles in our fleet that we maintain and service. As of today, 1,031 of those vehicles have at least one repair request. But in total, we have 4,387 repair requests. Doing the math, that's about 3 or 4 repairs per vehicle in our fleet. This equates to what I call the fleet availability, and I'd like to just briefly explain that. Right now, we have 19 fire engines out of service. We have 7 ladder trucks out of service and 31 rescue ambulances out of service. The good news is all of our fire companies are supplied with the equipment they need. But what that equates to is we only have 1 reserve apparatus right now, say for a fire engine, for every 16 frontline engines that are out there. We only have 1 reserve ladder truck right now for every 7 ladder truck companies that are out there. And we only have 1 reserve ambulance for every 6 ambulance companies that are out there. So it's important that we keep those reserve numbers high and our frontline fleet in service. And of course, the workload directly impacts our ability to do that. And we accomplish it with our workforce. I am so pleased to be able to report that in this last fiscal year, we were able to get managed hiring approval, fire personnel's help in filling 13 approved and funded vacancies. Today we have 5 of those vacancies remaining to be filled. The delay is mainly been because city personnel has not had lists of eligibles that we could promote from. That takes time, but we are working on it. And we've also are planning to start filling some additional not funded but approved vacancies in the next year and years to come. We have a strategic plan working with our accounting folks, our funding folks, and personnel to strategically start hiring additional resources at the shop. One thing I'd like to mention, beyond just trucks and triples and rescue ambulances, we also maintain all the department's gurneys and Jaws of Life and all that rescue equipment. And there's a need for personnel to support that significant part of our department's fleet.
One of the portions of the fleet that it covers are light vehicles. And what we've done over the last few years is really focused on the 4 basic food groups. That's your triples, trucks, rescues, and command vehicles. And we've haven't had the funding to replace light vehicles. We have about light vehicles being our staff cars, plug buggies, our pickup trucks, vehicles that staff utilizes day-to-day functions. We have about 37 Crown Vics, Crown Victoria apparatus that are over 200,000 miles. And what we've done is Mark and I made a decision. Once they've hit the 200,000, it's not fiscally good a measure to put an engine or a transmission into these or any kind of major body work, so we're just salvaging those apparatus. We currently have 20 placeholders for light vehicles. As the economy gets better, we get more funding for these vehicles, we'll replace those vehicles that were salvaged based on our decision to salvage them.
Chief, is there some sort of city policy? Because I've been told, and you would know and I don't know, it's a question. I've been told the LAPD, once their vehicles hit 100,000 miles, that basically they're taken offline and scrapped. And yet I know that based upon what you just said, there's 37 vehicles that have over 200, and I've been told more like 250,000 miles on them. Why would the one agency have a rule that they seem to be able to adhere to, and we're 2.5x that rule? I mean, do you have any familiarity with that?
Mark and I have reached out to LAPD and discussed with them, and kind of went in alignment with what they did as far as replacement. They do 6 years, and like you said, about 100,000 miles. And then they have a second category based on fiscally 4 years, where they'll take it up to maybe 9 years, an additional amount of mileage. And we've exceeded that in many categories. But yes, you are correct. To see that cost benefit in regards to a vehicle being in service, what he's got to apply as far as labor and parts, once it gets past that 6-year mark, 100,000 miles, you start seeing significant breakdowns. In addition to that, a lot of our light vehicle fleet has become obsolete. Manufacturers build in the obsolescence. They don't make parts for them. So getting parts for them is very difficult and expensive.
You do this all day long. Is there a global way of us looking at how we might be able to explain to the city management that we need to come more into alignment with where the police department is with regard to diminishing returns on equipment that gets to a point where it's costing more to maintain than just to buy a new one? I mean, how do we communicate our message in a way that, is coherent and doesn't sound like we're whining, but, adding mechanics and mechanics is more costly than replacing Crown Vics or whatever. It seems like we're missing something here that I'm asking if you have thought about.
Yeah, we've thought about a lot of things. One of which is the warranty. We've run out of warranty on most of our light vehicles, in addition to a lot of our heavy apparatus. We're able to cut down on staff applied hours to those apparatus that are in warranty.
Sure.
So that's one of them, getting newer apparatus. Solving the problem, it just comes down to more money.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to move some money around. We're going to be purchasing about 19 vehicles for the Fire Prevention Bureau. And
those are the electric.
What's that?
Those are the electric hybrids.
Right. In alignment with the sustainability, we're going to be doing EV to hybrid and working on the green initiative programs. So it's a matter of looking for money, moving it around, more MICLA funding. I know LAPD utilizes, and maybe June can correct me on this, or general fund money. They have money that comes in that they're able to buy their police cars with.
Do we have some sort of a data set that shows, sort of under the auspices of FireStat, where we could communicate to the city management how when it hits a certain point, the cost of maintaining exceeds the cost of replacing, so it could be like just right in front of someone with actual data? I mean,
we know exactly.
Go ahead.
I have an idea for that I think would be very effective. I propose, and this is from a prior notes that I collected for myself on this topic, that we create a fleet asset condition scorecard.
Okay.
That will enable us to quantify vehicle condition, and that we commit in advance to a score threshold that would cause and justify us as fleet managers to remove an asset from service. And that fleet scorecard would be based on overall condition, mileage, reliability, functionality, safety, emissions. We can develop a scorecard, but what's going to be essential is that we develop and commit to a threshold where we're going to remove a vehicle out of service.
Mm-hmm.
I recently had to do that with a vehicle with 310,000 miles, one of the Crown Vics. It needs a transmission. It needs an engine. And if we spend the money to do that, it's fiscally irresponsible for us to do it. But operationally, if we do it, we have the institutional knowledge to know that additional repairs are going to be needed on a reoccurring basis. And so the decision is made to pull that vehicle out of service. It does impact operationally, though. We're getting calls from the end user of that vehicle. We need it. But it needs to be replaced, not repaired.
Has this ever been communicated to like city council or public safety in a way where they really see sort of how this whole universe of our maintenance?
Let me add some comments on that question, Commissioner. This has been a standing item when I meet with Miguel Santana, and he used as an analogy the LAPD 10,000 staffing level. And his point was if he had a known amount every year, we could budget for it. So that's where we work together to develop a 3, 5, 7, and a 10-year catch-up plan. Mm-hmm. So I'll be meeting with him as we progress through the next budget cycle to reemphasize the need to commit to one of these plans. So I think that's our long-term solution is the metrics. It is a long-term plan and to enhance the amount of MICLA funding each year. To the point about PD, they have a different funding source because I've asked that same question, your previous question. That's how they're able to do it, and we're not. But we have the right two people there. They have a lot of good creative ideas, and in time, we'll get there. It's incremental progress, and we're accomplishing that.
That separate funding source, though, why is it that they have something that we don't have when our missions are similar enough insofar as public safety?
That's a good question. I'd like to defer that one to Ms. Gibson.
We're working you today, June. Sorry.
I know.
We're learning a lot.
The police departments, many of their vehicles are paid through their forfeited asset trust fund.
Oh, right.
So they have a different funding stream that's not available to any other department. In addition, their black and whites are not subject to MICLA, so it is a pay-as-you-go. This was an issue that was discussed in our pre-meeting, and I apologize, for not bringing this up, Chief. I vaguely recall that one of the special studies that the CAO's office is supposed to be presenting to council is to analyze the capital equipment needs of all city departments. And the direction of the instruction of the city council to the CAO is that we rely less on debt, but rely more on pay-as-you-go. Obviously, if we're going to be relying on the general fund to pay for capital equipment needs for all departments, that's going to be problematic, I think, for the fire department. I believe one of the reasons that they're going in that direction is we're almost reached our debt limit. And in accordance with the city policies, I believe that the policy is that we can't exceed, except under special circumstances, the debt service payment of 6% of general fund revenues. And I think, we're almost at that limit. So from a cost-effective standpoint, obviously, it's cheaper if you pay as you go because you don't have that debt service payment that's, looming into the future. But, it's just like a credit card, if you can pay for it now and, purchase it now and pay for it later, at least, you have an item in hand. So given our needs as well as general services capital equipment needs, I'm not sure, what the outcome of this CAO report is going to be. But, certainly, I agree, with the chief, and the commission that you've been talking about this for several years. And also working with Chief White, I fully understand the impact of the replacement cycle and the fact that, we haven't been able to keep up with it. And there were at least 2 years where the department received no MICLA funding. And I think, when the funding resumed, it was only $6 million. So incrementally, the fact that, we've now increased it to $20 million, seems pretty significant comparatively, but we have a huge replacement cycle backlog that needs to be addressed. So I think it's an issue with respect to the special study that the department really needs to work closely with the CAO on and in terms of the implications of the outcome of that report.
Is there a leasing option? I mean, so the capital expenditure is not a capital expenditure, it's a leasing expenditure?
Leasing would be an option if you pay as you go. You can't lease using MICLA funds.
Okay. So is that...
And the police department, my understanding is that has been leasing some of its vehicles on the basis of pay-as-you-go.
Is that something we could look at?
And that's certainly something that we should be discussing with the CAO's office if we are going to go in this different direction as opposed to relying so heavily on MICLA funding.
Mm-hmm. I do think the discussion about data and predictability is, I think that's a really key point I don't want to lose because I think historically that has not been a strength for us is to walk into the council or the CAO with the kind of data that you're talking about to say, here's our replace versus repair equation, and this is our entire fleet, and here is our projections for the next 10 years. And so, we can project 10 years in the future that we're going to need this dollar amount per year. And just showing that analysis. This commission is a great test audience for that. So I would encourage you to follow through on that as soon as possible. And I think that the sooner we start to build our reputation as metric-driven with strong data analysis where we can project and be predictable, the more success we're going to have in terms of locking down commitments from the council and the CAO, and and others to get what we want. So that I'd say let's move ahead with what you're talking about, and let's have that come back to the commission. You can tell us when you think you can have something like that ready, but I think the next budget cycle is no time like the present to start pushing that stuff out. And we to your point, we have lots of different apparatus out there, not just the frontline stuff. We've got helicopters that are exceeding their useful life. We might have boats that are exceeding their useful life. I think that things like gurneys is, I visited the shops I think a year ago when Chief Kelly was still hanging around there, and the hallway was filled with gurneys. Hopefully, it's not filled with gurneys anymore. But those data points I think help provide those who are not in the day-to-day with a clearer picture of what our needs are. So let's go ahead and start doing that, and let us be the first ones to see it, and then we can kind of give you feedback on that, and then push that forward through the next process and start getting some long-term picture development there. Thanks for I appreciate your creative thinking on that and the new ideas there.
Any other questions?
The only thing I would say is the obvious, so I apologize for being obvious. But it strikes to morale. It strikes to the heart of the organization and the way in which they feel about themselves with their esprit de corps. And I think it's really important for us to focus a little bit about, on the needs of the men and women out there doing the job every day when they're being asked to drive around in cars that are 300,000-mile cars with broken dashboards and seats that are no longer. Some of this stuff's intangible. Yeah, okay, the engine might have broken, but the seat's incredibly uncomfortable. I think we should put some focus on this, and we're too good for. We're better than what it is that we have been constrained to accept over the last several years. So maybe we can start to, push that out and focus on it in a different way. Because I hear it from everywhere, from the inspection unit or the prevention unit to the arson unit to the chief officers and on and on. And you must get, how many calls a day do you get of people whining about what it is they're driving, Chief?
Quite a few.
Okay, so there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's it. We don't have any public comments, so we can adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.